Blast off. Good evening, folks. Ken Hovind here and the crew at Dinosaur Adventureland, the rapidly expanding crew. Bunch of folks. How many people came in today? Eight more? Yeah, good to have you here. My name's Ken Hovind. We're the folks who believe the Bible is literally true and the evolution theory is the dumbest religion in the history of the world. And if you got suckered into believing that, we're here to help. We have the antidote. It's called truth. Get you off of that crazy religion of evolution to believing God made the world. Okay, a couple quick announcements. We've got something unusual tonight. Rather than continue our series on the things that cannot be explained by evolution, something different. Okay, if you want to come volunteer, 855-BIG-DINO, extension 1. You can come join us. And come volunteer. We need a farmer, we need a carpenter, a bunch of carpenters. Bible study at 6:30 this week. And Gilbert, when are you guys done? Tuesday or Wednesday?
Thursday.
Thursday, okay. So for most of next week also, Bible study at 6:30. Y'all come. How many did not take the tour yet of Dinosaur Adventureland? Okay. How many have already taken the tour? Anna, you got the certificates, right? Did you put them back up here? Oh, here we go. I took the tour of Dinosaur Adventureland. Why don't you pass those out, Anna? Hold your hand up if you did not get one, but you did take the tour.
That's the outdoor tour only, or indoor?
Outdoor and the indoor tour, the science center, everything. See the ladies to give you the indoor tour if you didn't get that, with all the cool science experiments. Okay, Josiah has come from Japan, right?
No question.
Konnichiwa. And you wanted to tell us a little bit about your ministry and how you pass out, those tracts you pass out are cool, by the way. And you said you could summarize it in 2 minutes.
Oh, I see what I can.
Okay, hurry. There's 10 seconds already gone. Okay.
I think I've seen your seminars fast enough, so I try to speak as much words a minute as I can see.
Yeah, I'll hold them. Just talk.
Okay, so I would actually use my arms, but I can't. I can't lift my arms. They're so sore from a lot of days' work, and that four-wheeler was so rough.
You've been shoveling and piling dirt all day too.
Yeah, I got my pilot's license.
You did. Yep.
Well, greetings and salutations to you out there watching and not watching. I am Josiah David. I do have a YouTube channel of my own, but generally it came from a long time ago of watching Ken Hovind's videos, and oh man, I did public school, private school, and homeschool. I did the whole three. But in private school is a private international school called Kansai Christian School in Japan. I'm born in Kobe, born and raised, and so we saw his videos in science class, and 5 minutes in, I was like blown away. I thought, man, I could listen to this guy forever. And so after that, I found out he actually that he was actually locked away in prison. I thought, what? Him of all people? What? Who? What? When? How? Why? That is. And so I just watched all of his seminars from Age of the Earth to Questions and Answers and transcribed them and typed them out, all the information onto my memory sticks. No reason not loading it to anything, but just basically reading it to myself anytime I got bored and just reciting the information, the humor, the prayer, the plan of salvation. I just feel like, man, you don't have to believe the Bible just by faith alone. There is proof, there is evidence, there is confirmation that it is true from the very first verse. And I wanted to recommend him to other people. I passed out these pieces of tracts, especially in English and Japanese, and especially to those who are foreigners, if they're Christian or non-Christian. I say, check this out. I hope it'll increasingly strengthen your faith in God's Word or in absolute truth. And they say, well, this guy's pretty funny. Or they just don't want to be my friend anymore after reading it. I say, come on, I thought it was just giving you as an encouragement. It's just commentary, that is. Some just don't want to talk to you anymore. They don't even want to see your face and so on, even though you try your best to talk to them about it. So even when I try to recommend it in my school, what would you say to those who they use the classical cliched argument like, oh, we don't like people who are wolf in sheep's clothing? I should say, come on, that's a lazy argument. I mean, I think you have 2 or 3 things to say about that, wouldn't you, by the way? And even last but not least, if I got one word to describe Brother Hovind, I got to say, awesome-tacular. Awesome-tacular.
Awesome-tacular.
Awesome-tacular.
Okay.
And what is that song that they say around here? Dinosaur Adventureland, having all the fun we can. One step from heaven at Dinosaur Adventureland. Yeah.
Amen.
I volunteer being the Christian Barney.
You have been here. You have a ventriloquist dummy you use.
Yeah, his name is.
I think we should put a label him evolutionist.
By the way, his name is Ticklish Rubin. When I was in Japan, by the way, a family called the Johnsons actually decided to mail it to me, and I actually play a lot of creation songs and practice all that I can. I'm a party entertainer in Japan, as well as teaching English and folding balloons, doing magic tricks, doing jokes, gags, that kind of stuff.
There you go. Now, I was in Japan for a week, and the reception was poor. I thought they're very polite, but not interested in creation. Are you experiencing that, or?
By the way, a lot of people have come up to me, even when recommending whether you in Japanese or answers in Genesis in Japanese. A lot of them have said to me, well, this is brilliant. How did I ever hear of this before? So perspective is everything. Were you in Tokyo, by the way?
Only got to Tokyo.
Okay, so
that is one crowded city.
Well, no question about it. It's so densely populated, but everyone could fit into Connecticut in the world. It's not overpopulated. So there's personality differences between Osaka area and Tokyo over here, historical reasons and so on. But generally they are polite, by the ways. But a lot of people I've met who I've given this to, they say they have enjoyed it, and I see many Japanese comments saying, this is brilliant, this is amazing, and there's not a thing or two that I'm not even going to...
Because you're...
The world needs more people like you. I have to be brutally honest.
Well, you're going to be one in Japan. All right.
Well, thank the Lord for both of us, so all of us, for our adventurous spirit, you know. So I should say, soldier on and fear no evil.
Amen.
Otherwise,
well, thank you, brother. Appreciate that. All right. Now, we got a couple other new folks here that I'd like, if you want to share 1 minute or less, your testimony of how you heard about our ministry, what are you doing here? Brother, you came and worked all day with your boys hauling rocks, and did you want to say anything to encourage people to watch the videos or something? Better hurry. Going to be a bunch of people watch this thing. No? All right, you do. The sign maker. Go ahead, brother. Tell them who you are, where you're from.
Well, Justin, from northern Oklahoma. If you cut off the Panhandle and you go right to the middle towards Kansas, there's Ponca City.
I preached in Ponca City.
Did you really?
Yes.
Well, I noticed that there's a Pioneer Woman is a popular statue, and I noticed in the museum that was part of one of the posters that you had. That's 2 blocks from my house.
Wow,
From my house. So kind of a small world. Interesting story. About 3 weeks, maybe not even a month, have I been exposed to your ministry.
Okay.
Believe it or not. So saw the viral video that you mentioned where you debated the atheist. I guess it was probably 3 atheists.
3 on 1.
And
yeah.
you talked about the, I guess it was, where did God come from? That's right. So after watching that video, I'm sitting in bed. My wife, she's watching some videos, and she pulled up, I guess it's dinosaurs in the Bible. So I grabbed a hold of that video. I was up till 2 o'clock, absolutely just amazed by the treasure trove of information that's out there.
And the wife is saying, I'm tired, I want to go to sleep.
That's exactly what happened too. No, she actually ended up falling asleep.
Okay.
So I was like, I was really excited. I said, you know what? It would be so awesome if I could just meet this man, and if I could just talk to him and tell him thank you for his ministry. And typically you run into situations where they're just so big, so busy, they're just unobtainable. So then I look and I find out, well, he's got this Dinosaur Adventureland. I was like, oh, that'd be so awesome if maybe I could offer my services as a sign maker in a sign shop. So, well, look, there's his phone number. Oh, wait, that's his extension. I could just try calling him. Oh, well, okay, I'll try calling him.
All day long.
So then I called, and you can hear his voice on there saying, well, if you can't get a hold of me, call back, and no point in leaving a message. I figure he's a busy guy. Well,
I had 62 messages a few minutes ago when I checked my phone.
So it's probably going to keep growing.
I'm trying to keep up. Okay, but go ahead.
So I let it ring. It rang about 7 times. I was like, well, I guess I'll just try later. And then he answers, hello, it's Ken Hovind. I said, oh, well, hello. Okay, so what do I say from here? Oh, just thank you for everything that you've done. And, oh, by the way, toward the end of the conversation, I've got a sign company. And if you could ever use anything, please let us know. And he goes, oh, yeah, well, by the way, we've been mentioning that on this very channel here, which I was unaware of. I said, oh, okay. So it was kind of a God thing because I knew nothing of the channel. I didn't realize that he had a vlog or anything like that, and he'd actually already been asking for signs. So I took that as a sign from God. And you like that? So we decided to come on down. It's only 1,000 miles for us driving, so we figured we'd just load up, and we came down, and here we are. So.
And you came in a little bitty car. You don't really drive it. You kind of wear it.
It's about 1.5 seats. It's about 1.5 seats if you average it out between the two, little 350Z, and we slipped in, and like a glove, it fit, and we just drove the whole way. Worked out pretty good.
You have to peel it off when you get here?
Yeah. You got to fall into it and crawl out of it. That's how that works.
Anyway, so we've been talking for the last couple of days about all the signs around here, and you're already started on Goliath.
Yes, Goliath. That's he's going to be, I guess, in totality, probably 12 foot tall. He's going to be standing on a hill. And then also the rest of them's about
1.5
10
sheets
tall,
of plywood.
Yeah.
For now, it's going to be 2-dimensional. Try to hit it with water balloons and stuff like that. Eventually, I'd like to build a stucco 3D one.
I would say if we could find somebody who could sculpt, then there's so much that we can do beyond that. If we can get somebody who can sculpt foam, I've got a million different clever ways of coating that and making it last outside. So if we can find somebody to do that, I think that would be
good.
The ticket.
Well, thank you, brother. Glad you enjoyed the ministry. Get back to work, okay?
Appreciate it.
All right, who else wants to share a testimony here? Brother, you want to come? Tell your family? All right.
If you twist his arm.
If I twist his arm, yep. All right, tell them who you are and where you're from.
I'm Frank Hepburn. I'm from Athens, Alabama, originally from California.
You just pulled up a couple hours ago.
Yeah, and
got put right to work.
Right to work.
Okay.
And we got your van stuck in the sand.
In the sand,
and,
yep.
yeah, and we got it out in no time. So it was a good thing. We worked real hard, but brought my 2 boys and my wife, and we've heard about you before our. One of the boys was even born, so.
And they're what, in their 20s now, or?
Yeah, well, the oldest one's in his 30s, so we've known you for a long time.
Okay.
Brother. And,
they got in the car and they said, we've been following you for years. I said, so has the KGB, the IRS, the Gestapo, they're all following me.
But our youngest Thaddeus, about 3 years ago, heard Kent Ham locally, and he got fired up. He's 20 at the time. He's right now 23. He's a Marine out in Camp Pendleton, California, and he got fired up. Started listening to you, and really got fired up.
Well, Ken Ham stuff is really good.
It is.
Mine is better.
I agree. And but he started listening to you, and he's bought your book that when you were in prison that you wrote, and he it's just been. He was shocked when he saw the picture of us with you today. So he was really,
okay,
our Marine. So we love him very much, and we miss him a lot. So, but
thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Stay as long as you want. Well, you guys been hauling rock and doing all kinds of stuff and picnic. By the way, we need 1 more picnic table or 2 more picnic tables up there. I mean, we need some more now. They said, okay, there's one down here by the end of this building. Get a couple more up there if you can. Okay, who else did not get to share a testimony that wanted to? Because I got one question here that didn't even get in my stack of questions, but I thought, if I answer this one question, this can take 4 days. Okay, so let me finish the announcements. We still need the satellite dish brought down here. Supposed to come tomorrow. Are they bringing it actually, or?
Presumably.
When it shows up, we'll believe it. Okay, got to get a trencher. Man, we got to. Who dug on the trench today? Okay, scoot over this way. You dug on the trench, okay? You got your pilot's license and all that stuff. Yep. Amen. That's good for you. Need some concrete dinosaurs if you do stucco work and want to do 3-dimensional, realistic-looking dinosaurs. We need some of those. I think, is the Kent Hovind is Innocent website back up now? Did anybody check? Can somebody check on their phone, Nick? See if that's up.
It's not back up.
It's not back up. He renewed it, and it should be up for 5 years now.
Okay. I was going to say, you can't.
It's coming up soon. So they want you to contact Brady, here's his phone number, about getting pressure put on to investigate my case, because Trump has already done a lot on pardoning people who were unjustly imprisoned, and I was too, nearly 9 years. I did not break any laws, and so please do that. So the feast days are here. They can still come?
Yeah,
Yeah, come on down. It's getting a little crowded. How many tents are set up out there now?
about 8.
About 8 tents and motorhomes and people crawling all over the place. And good. Okay, I was asked a question. Oh, by the way, one more thing, announcement here. Let's see. Dinosaur Adventureland is a healing place. Isn't it great to just get alone with God, go walk up on the sand dune, and this really is an amazing place.
Use your energy for something worth it.
Right, and we need bunkhouses finished, some painting and some decks done and some stuff like that, 4-wheelers. You can help very simply by joining our 777 Club. That was an idea from an atheist, Aaron Ra. He said he has a 666 Club where he asks people to donate $1 a day so he can stay an atheist and publishes atheist books. I said, well, then we need 777 Club. We need 777 people, just $1 a day if you can, a penny a day. Something to help, because we stay open for free here. And we spend a fortune building stuff. And, I mean, things aren't free, obviously. Electric bill, I don't know, what's our electric bill around here? Skyrocket, and it's always some.
Are you broke? You need some money? I can give you some.
I'm not broke. I'm badly bent, though. Okay. Anyway, CSE, make the checks to Creation Science Evangelism. Okay. I was asked a question. Where's the evidence for the things the Bible says? I thought, okay. I think there are thousands of bits of evidence that can be used. And we have a fellow here tonight who doesn't know this is coming, but may be able to help us with the where's the evidence for the Bible. What slide is this? Number 1391. Alt DV. Oh, hang on. No, right there. There. Or there. No. 1391. You can get all my PowerPoint slides on a thumb drive for $100, which includes all the videos. And a lot of my slides at the bottom, you can't see it on screen, but when I'm editing them, there's whole sections of extra notes that I don't get time to cover.
You can also get just the slides.
Just the slides for $55, okay, a thumb drive. Okay, where's the evidence of the Red Sea crossing? Gilbert, come on up here if you can, brother. Now, I know you like to talk, and this is going to go for 4 days, okay? Okay. Okay. Let me give a couple slides here, and then you explain what your experience is with the Red Sea. Okay. God told him in Exodus 14 to go over against Baal-zephon. Before it, ye shall encamp by the sea. Mm-hmm. And so they did. And to lift up thy rod, God told Moses, and you're going to cross over on dry ground. Later, it uses the word congealed. I mean, hard like a rock. Mm-hmm. They didn't crawl through the mud. They went through on rock, solid ground, 900-foot deep water. About in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's 4 miles. It's an 8-mile crossing, so it's 4 miles of drive. So it's such a gradual decrease that it passes handicap standards. But there wasn't one feeble one among them, according to scriptures, because they were made to serve with rigor. They had rigorous training, so there wasn't one feeble one among them. And they were heading east out of Egypt, going straight east.
I'll show a map here. The Bible says there was a dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them. I have always wondered if any fish fell out.
No, because congealed in English, but the Hebrew word is kafu, which in modern Hebrew today means frozen, because the strong east wind came from Baal-zephon. See, they were at Pihahiroth, which is mouth of the gorges, and all this Wadi Wati is the main gorge, but all these other gorges.
In a minute, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you show that, the scriptures paint a picture.
Oh, absolutely.
So show the picture if you can.
The Bible says God took off their chariot wheels as Pharaoh tried to follow them. Okay.
Well, no, here's what happened. They're going through it. It's a night crossing, so it's a night crossing all night. And the pillar of fire and cloud went from before the Israelites, went behind them, was between them and the camp of the Egyptians all that night. Now, he caused a strong east wind to come from Baal-zephon. What's Baal-zephon? Lord of the North. Zephon's translated in the King James Version Bible 153 out of 153 times north.
Okay.
It means north. Okay. So cold wind cometh out of the north. That's what the Bible says. Cold cometh. If you don't believe me, head up to Canada or Alaska right now. You'll find out. Okay. Well, he executed judgment on all their false gods. Lord, he's the real God of the north, south, east, and west.
Yeah, all the plagues were on one of their gods, the frog god,
everything.
Right.
But this one was real important because, see, they were in the land of Moab over against Jericho. Well, Jericho was on the other side of the Jordan. Well, now they're in the land of Egypt over against Baal-zephon. That's the Lord of the North, is on the Egyptian, on the Saudi Arabian side. So the strong east wind came and froze the water to left and right. When it says congealed, it means the depths were frozen.
Okay.
So the ground's frozen hard, and they're coming, and the fiery cloud, the fiery pillar, is letting the Israelites see their way as they're crossing this dry, hardened as a rock, frozen ground, and it's keeping them warm as they're passing between two walls of ice. But it's also cloud and darkness to the Egyptians. The wicked walk in darkness. They know not of what they stumble. So what he's doing is he's sucking the Egyptians into the middle of the Red Sea all that night. Because, see, the reason why they're chasing him is because realization set in after 7 days. They were supposed to go out 3 days, sacrifice, and come back. And they're still moving after 4 days. So realization came in after they buried their dead. A few days later, we got to build the pyramids. We got to go get those guys. So we
lost our labor force.
And the ninth of the 10 plagues was darkness that could be felt. So they wouldn't even move out of their houses for 3 days. Well, now the same darkness They knew it dissipated before, so they're going to wait. And this darkness is slowly moving, so it's sucking them into the middle of the Red Sea all that night. It was a night crossing, but it kept them. Well, what happened is by the time the last Egyptian got into the Red Sea, it's also melting the walls of ice as the fiery pillar passes through. They don't know that. They're in darkness. So it makes it impossible to get out. Then he starts taking the lead vehicle's wheels off, and they can't go forward and back. The best way to ambush a column in military
Sure. Shoot
strategy,
the front vehicle,
take
shoot the
out
last
vehicle.
vehicle.
Yeah, they're dead ducks. They're sitting ducks.
They're all stuck.
And that's when they said they realized when the morning appeared, the sea returned to its strength, but it would collapse on the Egyptian side first and force their dead bodies up on the Saudi side. Why? Because it says, and the Israelites saw their bodies dead on the shore. You can't see dead bodies 8 miles across. I've been on both sides, the Egyptian side and the Saudi side. You don't see
Let me
bodies.
say, this is why capital punishment is so important. People that commit a certain crime should be executed so that the victim can see their dead body and get some peace and say, oh, if a girl is raped, she doesn't need to pay the guy's groceries for the next 20 years in prison and worry about him getting out. She needs to watch him get shot or fried and go spit on his grave for a few days or months or weeks until she heals up. And I'll show you, they saw the Egyptians' bodies. I'll show the pictures of you in here in just a second. I've been using this for 20 years. So the waters returned and covered the chariots.
Right.
And he turned the sea into dry land, and they went through
Well,
the
the
flood.
land is italicized there. It was dry ice.
Okay.
He just froze the thing. So
Okay.
it's hard to move.
Here is Egypt down here, the country of Egypt. And right here is the Red Sea, which comes up and has two fingers on it, the Gulf of Aqaba and the Gulf of Suez.
Right.
Most Bible maps show them crossing the Gulf of Suez over here, the Red Sea crossing, which is baloney.
No.
It wouldn't take Pharaoh 7 days to catch them. It'd take him about, what, a couple hours to catch
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. It was a 7-day. Get this. They ate the Passover lamb, and for the next 7 days, they're just eating unleavened bread. Why? Because they're on the lamb. They're running out of Egypt. They're being freed after being in Egypt for 210 years, of which the last 118 they could have been in slavery. We don't know exactly how many years, but they were in Egypt 210 years, and now the Lord's telling them to get out, and they're moving. There's not one feeble one among them. They're booking. And he says, he even said when they got to Sinai, you see how I brought you to me on eagle's wings. They were moving. What people don't realize is the world, you brought it up today, the world is turning at the equator about 1,000 miles an hour. It takes 24 hours to turn around the world. And it's passing, when it does that, it's moving east at 1,000 miles an hour, and it's passing between two walls of ice, the North and South Pole. The Lord did that example. That's exactly what he did with them. They were fast moving across the Red Sea between two walls of ice.
Okay. Now, who was the lady who came down and called this Mount Sinai down here? Some Phoenician princess? Or?
No. It was Saint Helena, not saint, but the mother Constantine. You know, here's Constantine, the emperor of the Roman Empire.
Right.
And his mother says, well, this is Mount Sinai. And so everybody goes along with it. But Mount
it's still
Sinai,
Mount-
according to Galatians, is in Arabia.
Yeah,
It's not in
I'll
Egypt.
show you. So she calls it Mount Sinai, and everybody says, yes, Your Highness, and they've called it Mount Sinai ever since. It's on all the maps. They call it the Sinai Peninsula. It's got nothing to do with Sinai.
No.
Okay, so anyway, so the children of Israel came all the way across and crossed over here.
Right.
The
Right
Gulf
in the
of
middle. And
Aqaba.
above that's called the Elat Sea. Deep, excuse me.
got pictures.
And below that is called the Algonis Deep. And in the middle of the Gulf of Aqaba is a land bridge that goes over there. I mean, I've got a depth chart of the whole map.
Okay, now you've been here. That's the beach where the water flows out.
And you notice the beach is square miles. A few million people could picnic out there in tents, and a pillar would block this wadi to where the Egyptians couldn't get at them that night.
The pillar of fire.
That night. And the pillar was pillar of cloud darkness. Can you imagine coming at nighttime here? You see them, and then it blocks them, and it's darkness. And these guys know this darkness before because it was the ninth plague. So they're not going to move until it moves. They didn't move out of the houses for 3 days until it moved.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So here's a north view. Here's what they call the Sinai Peninsula down here, which is viewed from the north. So they cross. There's that little brown spot. That's the beach. Here it is right here.
A big beach. Now look at it. Show it. There you go. Mountains dropping off in water north and south of it. But right there is a gigantic picnic area.
Well, probably
The
from
Lord
Noah's
prepared
flood.
that after the Noah's flood.
Right.
And made a little picnic
It would have
area
washed
for
all
the
that sand out there with the water went. That's why the valley is between those rocks.
Yeah.
So this is, from the bottom to here, is about how far?
Oh, a few miles. It's square miles. I forgot. I used to have it down 9 point something square miles. But the only entrance is this, and a pillar would block it. No problem.
So my theory would be, the Jews come out there, they're following Moses, they've never been out of Egypt, they've been slaves, okay? And all of a sudden, they're stopped, they got water in front of them, mountains north and south, and Pharaoh, a very angry Pharaoh's army behind them, and they're thinking, what have you done, Moses? Many people get frustrated with their leader. What have you done? Why were we here? And many families get frustrated with dad. You know, what did you do? How'd you get us into this mess? They're all thinking, how'd we get in this mess? Now you, if I understand it right, way down here on the south end of this beach,
Yeah.
help them stand up or reinforce this pillar.
Well, the pillar was found in water in 1978 by Ron Wyatt, and the Jews were occupying it from 67 war to 81. So in 78, they're building a road to do what? Patrol the border of Egypt. Well, Isaiah, 2,700 years ago, said there'll be a pillar on the border of Egypt. That's the pillar, that's the border of Egypt. He found this pillar. Now, it was lying in the water, so it had fallen over. A solid granite pillar, this big. It's bigger than a 55-gallon drum.
You couldn't reach around it.
I could not reach around it. It's bigger than a 55-gallon drum.
There's you standing on top of it.
Right there, yeah. And because I got up there, see, the Egyptians didn't know I took that picture. I threw my camera down to a Bedouin, and he took my picture. And then I went to the hotel because it was Friday afternoon. I had to get back to Israel to keep Sabbath that evening. So I went to these guys. I showed them this picture. I said, I need your help. They were building a hotel. Now, these three guys were building the hotel. I said, I'll come back. I had my wetsuit on and everything like that. And you couldn't believe I got up there. So I came back. I packed my suitcases. I said, come on, let's go. They said, just relax. Have some more tea. They kept giving me tea at this kitchen. Nobody's working.
They're not in a hurry.
Nobody's working. They say, oh, I was going to get a jerry can full of diesel for the front end load. So finally I realized Isaiah, the same one that said the pillar was there, Isaiah cried concerning the Egyptians. Their strength is to sit still. These guys are sitting still. They weren't doing anything, man. And I got to get going. I'm trying to get ahead of them. Finally, the guy showed up, followed me over there, about a couple of miles with the front end loader, and bulldozed all around that thing and strengthened it. Because I could see under the concrete the old picture. Yeah, that's two of the guys standing with me after we finished. Notice there's square miles, no ruins in sight, and there's a gigantic Phoenician solid granite pillar. Just like the Bible says. Now, why did they put a pillar there? Why would, who put the pillar
That's
there?
Isaiah 19:19, by the way.
Yeah, 19 and 20. Said, and the pillar will be for a sign and a witness to the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt. That's the land of Egypt. That's the border of Egypt. And there's a pillar. Now, that's like Minnesota Fats calling the shot in the side pocket 2,700 years ago. And there it is when I went there. So I've been to Israel 18 times, and my tour guide, never been on a tour. My tour guide is the King James Bible. All you got to do is open it and say, guide me with your eye, because his eye is on that land from the beginning of the year to the end. He's focused on Israel. So you just go there and read it. And I tell you what, can you bring that scripture up where it says Piahiroth between Migdol and the sea over against Baal Zephon? And
Did I have that one here?
I don't know if you have that, but it paints a picture. Or well, that's not it.
That's part of the scripture.
That's part of the scripture.
Yeah.
There's another one. In camp between Migdol and sea, Migdol means tower, a high outpost, over against Baal Zephon. Well, there you go. There's nothing but mountains all there. It's between the mountains and the sea. They're going to encamp. For Pharaoh will say, the wilderness has shut them in. I mean, they're at a dead end. We can go get them back to build the pyramids. Otherwise, we got to do it. Everybody's with me. Everybody was with them. In fact, and not only was it 600 chosen chariots, but all the chariots of Egypt. It doesn't say it, but I believe he might have made a proclamation. Anybody with a chariot that doesn't follow the Pharaoh, his house is made a dunghill. We're going to tell everybody, go dump your dung over at Joe's house, you know. And it's just a terrible thing to do. So everybody followed him, okay? That's why leaders led and how they kept, because they were ruthless. I mean, they meant business. When the king said something, you're supposed to respond and do it. So everybody followed him, and not one escaped. Not one. Now, it should be called the Clear Sea, not the Red Sea. The Sea of Edom. Edomites lived there. Because it's so clear, I've gone 140 feet down scuba diving on the Egyptian side, because it's deeper on that side, and it's clear as a bell. So I believe we're going to find Pharaoh's chariot on the Saudi side of the Red Sea, because Yeshua said, there's nothing hid that shall not be revealed. He told Moses after 6 plagues, don't sleep in, go up and stand before Pharaoh early in the morning and say, for this very cause, I raised you up that my name. Nobody knows the name of the Pharaoh. They all have their ideas and everything. And a lot of people don't know the name of Yahweh. They just don't know it. They just know Lord. That's all they know. And you got to be a little more personal. When you know somebody by name, when you call upon the name of Yahweh, you shall be saved. Joel. The first Pentecost, the first gospel message after the resurrection and ascension was, Joel, whosoever calleth on the name of Yahweh shall be saved. That's what Peter preached. My man was good.
All right, let me show you this. Now, you mentioned there are 2 deep parts. This is that beach right here.
Yeah.
Here's the Egyptian side. Here's the Saudi side.
Right.
It's about, 8 or 9 miles across here.
Yep.
Okay. And there's an underwater land bridge.
Right there.
Right
can
there.
See, you can see how a lot deep on the top. You see how it gets, it goes
contour
down.
lines, right?
Yeah.
And then,
down here, the
here.
Argon is deep.
How deep is it up here in the Alat Deep?
It's not a mile deep, but the other one is.
This one is?
Yeah, that's not as deep. It's still a couple thousand feet deep, but it goes to Israel.
Yeah, up to Elat.
Yeah, a lot. And
Okay. So across here, this beach, here's another little beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you see, actually, I believe they crossed from here, south of the thing, because the strong east wind would have froze everybody sitting there if it went right on the beach. So, and the pillar is right here, and the other pillar was right up here. So it was the southwest wind that came down and froze the water.
So they show up on the Saudi side, and then God drowned Pharaoh's army.
Right.
Now, I talked to Ron Wyatt quite a bit, and then to Richard Reeves. He said down at the bottom they found human ribs, human hands, chariot wheels. There's a picture of one of the gold-plated chariot wheels.
On the Egyptian side.
And you've been scuba diving down there how many times?
Well, I've been there 5 times. This last time an Egyptian stole a boat, so they wouldn't let me use a boat. I walked off the shore, but that's not the same. You need a boat with the radar equipment, with a good camera, and a gold finder. You need all these different things because it's all coral over there. Now, coral doesn't grow on sand. And yet the Red Sea's clear as a bell, and on the sand, there's all kind of coral because it's a big wrecking yard. There were hundreds and hundreds of chariots that were just collapsed and smashed by the frozen ice and forced up. And their dead bodies were forced up on the Saudi side because, see, it was gun control. The slaves had no weapons. And these guys were, driving chariots with swords and stuff, and their dead bodies were on the Egyptian side. And so they took the dead bodies off and let the tide take them back out to the deep.
Well, they kept all the weapons, too.
Yeah, they got the weapons off their dead bodies.
Sure, yeah. Instantly
So the
armed.
Lord provided. Isn't
Yeah.
that wonderful? He's so wonderful. He
Now,
thinks of
Ron
everything.
told me that when he showed the pictures of the chariot wheels to the guys at the Antiquity Museum, the guy said, oh, that's the 18th dynasty.
Yeah, that's the only time they had 4-spoke wheels and 6-spoke.
They had some 4-spoke chariots, some 6-spoke, and some 8-spoke chariots, and all of them are found down there.
Everything, it does exactly. But the main thing about it is, the reason why the pillar was in the water is because we know the water level of the ocean's higher now than was then, because Alexander the Great came almost 700 years after Solomon and built the harbor in Alexandria, Egypt, and it's underwater now. So this pillar was on the border, it raised up too much, it fell over, and Job says, waters, where's the stone? You got these waves hitting that big pillar for maybe centuries, and so they picked it up and set it on the other side of the road they were building to patrol the border, and there's no writing on it. But when Ron Wyatt, it was worn off. But when Ron Wyatt was incarcerated for 78 days for not having a visa in 1984.
In Saudi Arabia.
In Saudi Arabia. That's why I waited 14 years till I got a visa. And
You didn't want to be incarcerated for 2 months.
That's right. Well, you got to strive lawfully. That's full of the Lord. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I went to, the one on the Saudi side, when they incarcerated him, after 70 days or so, they finally brought him down and tried to verify his story that he's just an American archaeologist, And the pillar was still standing up on the Saudi side, and he recognized Paleo-Hebrew, which is the Hebrew they used to inscribe before the Babylonian captivity. And he recognized Edom, which is Edom, and Mizraim, which is Egypt. And he recognized Shlomo, which automatically dated to Solomon or after, but not before Solomon. Well, I can use the King James Version, and I can get Solomon right at the crossing of the Red Sea, exactly 500 years after the crossing of the Red Sea. Because, for one, the crossing of the Red Sea happened 2,500 years after Adam and 3,500 years before the second coming. But then 480 years later, Solomon, in the 4th year of his reign, starts building the temple. Well, what's he instructed to do? He's instructed to make these 2 big pillars in front of the temple. They're not holding up it. Boaz and Rachab. Right. Now, they're big brazen pillars, and they're really big. They're not holding up anything. They're just 2 big pillars sitting out there. Not 8 straight verses describing them in Kings. Right. What's the 9th verse? Oh, make a molten sea in front of it. You see, everything God does is in patterns. Okay? So what did he do 480th year? He had Hiram the Phoenician, who was ever a lover of David. Right. So he definitely is going to help Solomon, his son. Brought these gigantic cedar trees and fir trees by floats, gigantic, from Lebanon down to Joppa, Israel, and they came in and built the things. The walls, and I'm a roofer, it was a cedar roof, okay? The walls and the roof were of cedar, and the floors, cat's trying to get in, and the floors and the rafters were of fir, according to the scriptures. You can just stay in the scriptures all day and get all this documentation. I'm not making anything. I can back up. See, I let God be true and every man a liar by quoting him, because I can quote him verbatim. Because I want him to be, I want him to be exalted. He's the one that didn't. I'm just telling you what he says. I'm just letting him be true. So they were instructed to bring those things down by floats. What happened exactly 20 years later? It says, after 20 years, both Kings and Chronicles will say word for word the same thing. 7 years building the temple, but 13 years building his own house. He starts shipping in the Gulf of Aqaba with Hiram, the best sailor in history at the time. And what do you think they did? They put up 2 pillars to commemorate the 500th anniversary, but guess what year they commemorated it in? The 3,000th year of our existence since Adam's birth. Right. The wisest humanoid in history, except for Yeshua, of course, knew to pinpoint this, and that's at the end of the first half. He's memorized, just really reporting at the end of the first half of our existence, man, they split the Red Sea. Stay tuned. At the second half, he's going to split the eastern sky. It's going to get bigger, but it's a pattern.
All right, now let me follow this. You cover too much material for people to swallow. The nation of Israel today comes down, has a little bitty spot touching the Red Sea where they have a port. Used to be called...
Enzion Gable was Aqaba, I believe, and Elat is called Eloth in the Bible.
Now today it's Elat.
Elat.
I went down there, went swimming, and there's about 20 miles of beach or whatever they have there. Not maybe 50.
Not many miles. It's just the very point of Israel, because you got Egypt on this side, Jordan on this side, and a few miles down, Saudi Arabia.
So Solomon had ships going down to Ethiopia to get apes, peacocks, gold.
Yep.
They made several trips down there. And some people say there's a contradiction in the Bible by how many tons of or pounds of gold they got or whatever, because one says 450, one says 480. Well, it's a different trip.
666 talents of gold.
Yeah, it's a different trip. They took lots of trips. But on one of those trips, they stop off in Solomon, you think, put those 2 pillars up.
Well, not only do I think, I know because he's, 1, the wisest human. 2, he was instructed to put 2 pillars in front of the temple. Now, this is the pattern shown. Remember, he said to Moses, see, you make it after the pattern shown you in the mount. And then David had patterns shown to him, and Solomon built it after the pattern. Why put 2 big pillars in front of it? Why put 2 pillars like this in front of the temple? They're not holding up anything.
Right.
No, it's just a pillar there, a pillar there. What's the very next? Oh, yeah, make a molten sea in the middle. Come on. He's showing them that this really happened. That's the biggest move of God that we know of, is splitting the Red Sea. But he's going to outdo himself. He's going to split the eastern sky. Really soon.
Coming soon.
Stay tuned.
Now, they cross over the Gulf of Aqaba. They end up in what today is Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
Over here is Jebel Al-Lawz.
The highest mountain in northwest Saudi Arabia, and it's all black, the top half.
I got pictures of it here. Galatians 4 tells us Sinai is in Arabia. There's a picture of it. You've been up here?
Well, I didn't go all the way up because I didn't have enough time, but I got pictures of me at the base of it. Yeah. And there's a cave in the very center, and that's where Elijah went, to that cave.
Elijah ran 180 miles, scared of one woman.
Yeah. And
smart fella. Okay. So, anyway, down here, tell us about the pillars. God told Moses to tell the people to make pillars to keep the people away from the mountain.
Well, no, he put borders up.
Borders
but
up, yeah.
he made, get this, it's one verse that says, and I got it in chapter 24 of Exodus, he said, when he got up early in the morning, after Yahweh yelled the 10 Commandments, and then he went up there and got 3 chapters of judgment, 21, 22, and 23 of Exodus.
Well, he
Then
went up and down the
came
mountain like 8 times.
Yeah.
And he's 80 years
but
old.
this time he came down, and it says he rose up in the morning and built an altar under the hill and 12 pillars for the 12 tribes. I've got one, and that scripture paints a picture. I've got a picture, and if you would have told me, I got it on my iPad over there.
Yeah.
There's an altar right below the hill with the cave in the center of the hill and 9 pillars, this round, about this high, different, and they're solid white marble, heavy. I couldn't budge a single one, couldn't deadlift any one of them to lift them up, but there's only 9. But they're perfectly round, and there's no human in sight. This is called the wilderness. Mount Horeb means Mount Desolate. It's desolate out there, nobody there. To this day, nobody's really there. Now, there's only 9 pillars, perfectly chiseled. Why aren't there 12? Well, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh always lived for the next 700 years before the Assyrians got away on that side of the river. So they probably came along and took him away. But for sure, there's 9 of the 12 still there. I got pictures right there. I was just there 2 months ago.
Now, the top of the mountain is black. Why?
Because he came down in fire and yelled the 10 Commandments. And you take the rocks off the top, they're brown on the bottom, but they're black on the top, and they're white on the inside when you
That's
bust
not a
them
shadow.
open.
It's not a shadow of a cloud or something. That's actually...
No, it's black.
It's black.
I got a picture. It's black. Everything else is desolate and sand covered, like tan, except for that mountain right there. The thing is black.
So there's also a rock down there with a calf on it.
Yeah.
Tell it. What do you know about that?
Okay, well, they got a sign, and in 13, today it's of 1440, according to their calendar. And they started doing the calendar around
With
600.
Muhammad.
Yeah, around
Yeah.
600 AD. So they're in year 1440. But in 1436, they blocked off that there you go, you got the fence right
yeah.
there. They put a triangular fence around these big boulders that have petroglyphs of, calves on them and stuff like that you find all over Egypt, like that. And they say it's uncrossable fence. Of course, I went all over it because there was nobody there. But anyway, I got under the fence because, the ground wears away and you can get in and out. But they don't want anybody there because that proves the Bible. So they have fences up, and it's punishable and all this kind of stuff. I've got the pictures of the sign and everything. And
I'll add them to my PowerPoint
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Now, God told Moses to stand on the rock and smite the rock that water would come out. Mm-hmm. Most of the Bible, little pictures in the back of kids' Bibles show a little trickle of water coming out. You got 2 million people, plus their sheep and cows. You're going to water with a trickle of... I don't think so. Okay.
No, I went there. There it is.
There's the rock.
There it is.
There's the
it's
rock.
It's got to be over 40 feet, and I'm standing there, and I walked right through the middle of it. I can fit through the middle of it. Yeah, you can fit through there.
Okay. So that's where the rock split in half and water came pouring out, and you can see the erosion marks.
Yeah,
today.
and that's on the way from the Red Sea to Mount Sinai. See, that's the backside of Mount Sinai, the west side. You got to go on the east side, was a big plain where 2 million people can camp out for a year while they build this tabernacle in the wilderness.
Yeah.
But there it is, just big as day right in there.
Still there. Now, so the skeptics will say, what about the Bible has been proven? I'm not aware of anything in the Bible that's been disproven.
Right. And the Bible is the one that says, prove all things, hold fast that which is true.
Yeah.
Experience is the best teacher. When you get burned, you get learned. That's hot. I'm not going to learn, okay?
You've learned a few things the hard way in your life?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, me too.
Yeah. Like I tell people, I could be wrong. I was wrong in 68. But it takes a man to admit when you're wrong, and I was wrong in 68. And try
Back
never
in
forget
68?
that. Yeah.
I thought I made a mistake once, but I was wrong. I was right that time too. Okay. Well, brother, you've been a blessing. You got your group starting up here in about 5 minutes if you want to come join us. So I think you skeptics that say nothing about the Bible has been proven true, I think you explain that rock to us, okay?
Yeah.
Explain the pillars at the side of the sea. Now, the Saudis took their pillar away because they don't want people believing the Bible. Is that correct? It's gone?
It's got inscriptions on it, and I got a Filipino to take a picture of it in 2001, and it looks like it's in a Quonset hut because the parallel lines behind it get smaller and smaller. it's a bad black and white picture, but at least it's a picture. Then I got another picture of it on the back of a flatbed, a real long granite pillar in a desert land. You can't prove anything. You got to physically see it. But these pictures, I do have these pictures from Saudi.
But the pillar is gone on the Saudi side.
It's gone, it's hidden.
Okay.
But Isaiah said there'd be a pillar on the Egyptian side, not the Saudi side.
Okay.
And it's there to this day.
Now, you want to go back over there and go scuba diving again.
Right.
Ron told me the chariot wheels were gold plated and the wood has rotted out. And if you try to pick it up, it just crumbles. It's like the chrome plating on a bumper. The bumper's rotted and just the chrome plating left. And so they really can't move it easily. Yeah, what do you know about that?
Well, that's the Egyptian side. And that would have been one of the priests in one of these royal, just following back. But Pharaoh's chariot would have his cartouche in gold that doesn't rust in seawater.
Right.
And it would have his name. And that's what I'm after. Because, okay, you can hear my voice because I'm loud and my voice, each syllable, just discerning by the vibrations of my syllable, each syllable of the words I'm saying to you. A small, still voice is another dimension altogether we don't realize in this room exists. We're fenced in by time, space, and matter right here. But when you hear the voice of the Lord speak to you, it's another dimension you don't even realize exists. All you can do is receive it. You're a receiver. You just hear him say, and guess what? He's 100% scriptural. I love him.
Okay, now just one final question. If you find this chariot and get it out, are you going to put it in a museum in Lenox, Alabama, where people can come see it?
That's a good question.
How many would be in favor of that? Okay, there we go.
If I could, I tell you what I could leave. There's a picture, maybe you can bring it up, of this man that took Vivica Pontine in 1997. He's the only other person I know that dove on the Saudi side for Pharaoh's chariot, okay? She was a Swedish lady that learned how to deliver babies.
Oh, I met her,
yeah, okay. So she could go to Saudi Arabia and deliver babies and look for Pharaoh's chariot. So she dove there 5 times. I've been there 5 times. I haven't dove 5 times. And she was living there for years, so she dove 5 times. But other than that, I don't have any record of anybody else doing any kind of research on the Saudi side. But I heard a small, still voice tell me, and I wasn't even think. I was getting my verbs in early one morning in 2000. A black gentleman brother told me 47 years ago, you got to get your verbs in every day, man. You got to get your verbs in. So you read your Proverbs and you can tell what day of the month it is. A lot of people go by the Roman pagan calendar. Remember, the Antichrist would think to change time and laws, but the Hebrew calendar always, each month starts with the sliver of the new moon. So you can keep track of the days by reading a chapter of Proverbs every day. So I read my chapter, I'm sitting here, and I got to beat the heat. Everybody's sleeping in my house, but I'm a roofer, so I'm going to be in the sun. And I heard a small, still voice as clear as a bell, clearer than anything. Say, you will find Pharaoh's chariot on the Saudi side of the Red Sea. Now, when I first heard that, I figured, well, you'll find milk in the refrigerator. Okay, that's where you'll find it. No, I will find it. So I ran and got the map, and I got it out that I'd just gotten a few weeks early in Eilat on a yacht. I said, can I keep this depth? And the depth chart of the Gulf of Aqaba, I have the entire depth chart, shallowest part is in the middle on the Saudi side.
Over here.
Yeah, right. That's the shallowest part of the entire Gulf of Aqaba.
Okay.
And so I waited 14 years until I got a visa, and I've got a year, less than a year left. I can renew it though, I think.
Okay.
But when I go there, I'm the only white dude there. Nobody speaks English, but they can't believe I'm there, so they treat me like a king. Right. I go around and do stuff, and but I've got the burden. I say, what is that to thee? Follow thou him. You don't have to go do that. I've got to do that. Woe to me if I don't do it. Okay? Yeah. But everybody else has different. Everybody in this room has something that's got to do. The Lord, you know what the Lord wants you to do. You better do it, or else. His terminology in Revelation, not these things, or else. I'll move your candlestick out of its place. It had to be in place, or else I'll spew you out of my mouth. You had to be in his mouth to be spewed out. So just do what he says, what he shows you to do. Do it, and as Mary says, do it quickly.
Do it quickly.
Whatever he saith unto you, do it.
Now, do you want people to be able to get a hold of you? If you give out your email or phone number, there's going to be a whole bunch of people see it, and you may get... Bill Sardi said he's been overrun with calls from people saying, I'm sick, help me, knowledgeofhealth.com. Okay.
Well, I came in and showed you that picture in 04. And then '05, I come to his museum and I see my picture out there with my 800 number down there. I said, yeah, go ahead. I don't care.
Now,
I got to be ready
is
to
that number
answer
still
them.
good here?
Yeah.
800 85
850-7448.
Still same number.
Same
That's
number.
been on my slides for 20 some years or whatever it is. Okay. Well, brother, you've been a blessing. You got your group starting in a few minutes. Thank you, folks. If you enjoy our ministry, please support us. 777 Club. Join us if you want to come down. Bring a hammer, screwdriver, crowbar, something. Thumbs up, like us, subscribe. I don't know. That's enough. See you tomorrow or Sunday. Bye.